right. Hello, guys. Um, Happy Monday. Thankfully, these chapters are relatively short and to the point. I'm gonna do you guys a solid. I am going to turn on my timer. Okay, for this particular chapter, I'm going to be 10 minutes. For the next chapter, I should be no more than 12 minutes because they're pretty short. They're pretty standard. If I can knock it out sooner, I will. Few housekeeping things. I need you guys to watch your videos. Okay, make sure that you participate in the remind activities. Everybody needs to participate in these, and yes, that requires you to watch all your videos. For this particular week that we are in, which is week 5, you do have another article to submit, and I will be grading articles throughout the week. But your second article review is due at the end of this week. To submit Sunday night by 11:59 p.m. Also, into the following week, you're going to go into test number 2. What I am going to do, I'm going to give you guys a solid, and I'm not going to do any lectures just until you get that test done. Just to give you, a little bit of a break. The longer break comes after that. Like I said, I'm going to give you, actually, no, I need to recant that statement. I will be doing a live lecture, and I will post, as far as the YouTube information, because you should subscribe. Okay, that way you will always know when I'm on. I will be doing a live lecture next Monday at 10 a.m., our normal face-to-face meeting time. So, but because of the COVID cases that are rising on campus, we will not be meeting face-to-face at all. And if you do need to meet with me, you will need to make a Zoom appointment. But nevertheless, I hope you guys are safe. We're going to go right into it. Let me get my timer started. Let me get my notes to make sure I don't ramble on. All right, let's go. So now we are in chapter 23. We're trying to... Let me make sure it is chapter 23. Yes. Right now, we're talking about the inevitable, planning for emergencies. Okay. Now, one thing that you should plan for, that none of us really want to plan for, because it is a scary thing to think about, is what should happen in case of an emergency. I never realized it until I started working my first full-time job. The importance of evacuation. My first full-time non-fitness job, we actually had 2 bomb threats and a drive-by. So yeah, I used to live outside DC. So we had to plan for the event if something were to happen to us. So we had a plan of action if we did hear that, where to go, how to get out the building, where we would go in case there's kind of like the individual is within the building and there's shots fired. So those are real things that you do have to consider. Now, even though we are in a pandemic, that's not really a good thing. But the unfortunate part to the pandemic is that there has not been any school shootings as a result of the pandemic because most of us are home. However, God forbid, knock on wood, we return on campus, we need to be mindful in terms of how to get out the building just in case there is an active shooter situation. But, I always tell everybody, make sure you remain on guard because anything can happen, even in a pandemic. So it's important to plan for emergencies. When I used to work in a fitness center, my first full-time fitness center job, I actually was in the fitness center when the 2011 earthquake hit the basement of the fitness center. And nobody knew what to do. Everything was just kind of shaking. And we were like, what in the world? Until we were told to evacuate. So we had to, again, go out through the back door to go upstairs on 14th Street. Was it 14th? No, it's Pennsylvania Avenue. I used to work 2 blocks from the White House. And so we had to kind of go in the same direction as some of the White House personnel. So it was very interesting. But again, it's so important to plan ahead for emergencies. And as you reach your intended profession, that's something just to always be mindful of. But not only just profession, just at home, in life, in general. Okay. The National Athletic Trainers Association does have a statement or position statement in reference to planning for emergencies. It's so important for you to identify who does what. Okay. For example, let's just say, for example, you do have an athlete that does go down, and it could be a number of things that they could go down just because they may have fallen unconscious, or they might be in cardiac arrest. So you need to designate a person who might be the one to go grab the AED machine. You need to designate a person who will be the one to call 911. You might need to be the person who will do the chest compressions. You might be the person that might try to guide everybody out of the area. So it's so important for you to designate who does what. Make sure you have emergency contact numbers. And it's very easy to just say, oh, I'm calling 911. Okay. Depending on where you work, 911 may not be the first option. And I learned that when I was working 2 blocks from the White House. I learned that when we dialed 911, EMS went to the president's, not where I used to work. So it's so important for you to know who to call in just a case of emergency. You always want to do a practice run. You want to evaluate its effectiveness. Okay, you want to make sure that there's access to documents in case of emergency. Who will be the person to kind of grab the documents on the person, or what type of important documents do you think are necessary to keep? Okay, it might be instructions on how to do the AED. Okay, you'll be surprised. A lot of people do not, still, even after training, are not completely comfortable doing the AED. Sometimes in times of emergency, we kind of panic. And so we're not going to remember all the instructions on how to do something. So these are just things that are just to be mindful of in terms of the National Athletic Trainers Association. Okay. There's medical emergency cards. They might be available for those who may have kind of a pre-existing condition, maybe someone who might have asthma, maybe a student, maybe your athlete, primarily a Black athlete will have maybe exposure, or they might have sickle cell anemia. They might have the trait or the disease, more than likely for the disease, not necessarily for the trait, but mostly for the disease. They might have a card for that, especially maybe your athlete may have, have some pre-existing cardiovascular issues from previous years, and that can happen. You will come across some athletes with that, and it's not only just in athletes. You'll find that in individuals who may have serious health conditions. You'll find that in individuals who are 55 and older. If I tell you 55 and older, I tell my mom that, she's not going to believe it. But technically, 55 and older is considered senior. So they sometimes will have a card. Sometimes you'll see seniors with either a bracelet or a necklace. That's just a medical information identifier that kind of serves as an emergency card, just in case something were to happen. Sometimes it's necessary, especially in fitness centers. Okay, and these slides are a little lengthy, but I would not talk about all of them. Okay, same thing. You want to designate who's in charge. It's either the team, a physician generally, a athletic trainer, the coach, the person that has kind of the most knowledge base. Okay, be mindful. It doesn't always necessarily mean the person with the most education. It's the person with the most knowledge base about maybe the athletes, maybe of the location, maybe of individuals that come in and out. So generally, you always want to designate, kind of like the most knowledgeable as the one that has the kind of the lead plan. But like I said, it doesn't always have to be that way. It could be just somebody who might have more knowledge based on emergency situations. So it's to each its own, depending on the facility. Okay. And as I said, make sure those numbers are known, either 911 or the security desk. Okay. This is an activity question through your Remind app. Okay. Who should not control the crowd? Okay. All you have to do is text me through the Remind app on who should not control the crowd, and I'll give you credit that you participated in today's video. Okay. But again, that's an important aspect on who you want to control the crowd. Okay. All right. Still going through the crisis plan. You want to make sure everybody, of course, is accounted for in a safe location. Like I talked about, that we were in an earthquake and it was kind of crazy, but we were all accounted for. We had to do a method to make sure everybody was accounted for. And we had to do that because everybody flooded the cell phone towers so much that I couldn't get through to nobody. So you always want to have a backup plan just in case you can't reach anybody. All right, making sure that you know where the AED is located, making sure you know where the first aid kit is located. You don't, and everybody should know this. You shouldn't have not one person on your team that has no idea where those two items are. And I usually keep phone numbers, 911, security desk, in the same area with the AED and first aid kit. Okay, who will direct emergency services when somebody's injured? You need that person. You need an egress plan, or basically an exit plan. So yeah, that's just pretty much what the crisis plan consists of. And I do encourage you to go through all of the slides of your crisis plan because these are some very girthy test questions. Okay. You want to practice it. Like I said, you want to try to, every time you get somebody new on your team, you want to make sure that they are well aware of what's going on. You don't want anybody to be in the unknown. Okay. And it's good that nobody be in the unknown because some locations, when they do credentialing, sometimes they like to come in and test people and ask random questions. Okay. Like I said, if you ever watched the movie Drumline where they say one band, one sound, same thing with your team. Everybody got to be on the same page. And that's it with 45 seconds to spare. All right. Make sure that you watch your videos. Make sure you take notes. Make sure you participate in the Remind app activity. Peace.